Hello there and welcome to my little arty corner here on YouTube. My name's Angela Porter, and amongst other things I'm an artist, but to be human is to be an artist, so each and every one of you is an artist. Even if, like me, you're still trying to find perhaps your voice or voices or what works for you in the way of self-expression. And I'm constantly exploring and trying new things out. Well, not constantly as in every day, but it seems to be a repeating pattern in the hopes that I'm going to hone in on things that are really me. And today is no different, I guess. So before I start, I'd like to say thank you so much if you've subscribed to my channel. I appreciate that so very much, whether you're a subscriber from the early days still, or whether you're newly subscribed. You have my eternal gratitude. It means that I'm not talking to myself, which is wonderful. Though I do talk to myself a lot, it has to be said. We all do, really. But if you're new here and you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so if you like what you see. I have loads of content on my channel because for a lot of it I've released almost every day a video. So not so much at the moment. I've got to get to work today. But what am I doing? I'm procrastinating. And thank you for all the thumbs up, the likes, the comments. I'll get back to replying to the comments left yesterday after this video. So don't worry about that. I will get to it. So with no further ado, let's get to this, what you can see in front. If you saw yesterday's video, I created this little square where I coloured the background with distress inks. I used a stencil to add some subtle pattern, collaged some papers along the edge, and I sort of like coloured the edges there with distress ink just to give them a more distinct edge, I guess. Although in some places it seems to have worn away or not existed at all. Then I drew on this pattern with an Inkonic pen from Arteza. They're fineliners, they're water-soluble. I think I sprayed it with water or something just to try and shift the colour a bit because it was a bit in my face. And that didn't really dull it down enough. So this morning I threw some gesso on and that's toned it down. But I don't want to work on that today. That is going in my pile of things I can work on when I know what I want to do with them, including these. I've added gesso to this. It's knocked the colours back a little bit, but not as much as I'd like. I also added some here and here. But I also drew on here and here with some pens. These are the Inkonic ones. Yep, I think they're all... The pink inside there, though, was a zig writer. And with this, I just used a damp water brush just to move the colour. And it's created this lovely faded effect. And I'm going to show you that today. That is my plan for today, honestly. I like this subtle patterning and so on. And I tried to choose colours that went with this background. So these are there ready to start. And all I've done in preparation, because there's only so many times I think you can watch me create distress ink backgrounds, collage, and talk about it. I'll try to remember to link a couple of videos where I did this, certainly yesterday's, and so you can see. Excuse me, I'm going to have some tea. As tea is very important. So I'm not doing any hand lettering, for which some of you may be eternally grateful. But I do want to have a look at this because I do want to put some subtle patterning here as well. Now I have got some black pens out because I thought perhaps I'll do some black patterns in these bits. So this one, these are all digital papers, that I've printed out. And this one, in one angle, when I was looking at my camera, actually looked like it was sparkly, which amazed me because it's definitely not. It's just the way the light plays through the camera. But I've chosen sort of like papers that have colours that are similar to the background I made. Not entirely the same, but similar enough. I'm trying to work within that idea of monochrome, monochrome tones. I'm trying to work out which way I'd like this. I think I'd like it this way round. I definitely want to do something in here because this is a really big area. I sort of started laying, I'm thinking of started layering things up and thought this looked a bit odd on its own, so I put another strip there, and I wanted something that tied in with the top, but really, yeah, I have issues. I do have issues. So I've dug out some Inkonic pens here, and if I use the back of this, backs of pieces of paper are great. I want to decide what I'm going to draw with. I've got this one, which is this lovely brown. It's very similar to Rusty Hinge, which is the distress ink I've used to edge these. I've got this green, which I know will fade when I add water to it. I've picked up this colour, which is sort of an orangey, burnt orangey colour. And I also picked up this sort of dusky blue as well. And I think together, it's another vintagey colour palette, isn't it? I really need to work out which of these pens I really like and see if I can get them on open stock or something that's similar, because it irritates me. I have to buy sets of pens, most of which I'll never use, so I have to find homes for them with other people and just steal the ones I want out of it. Well, not steal, but keep. Okay, so I have my pattern book here, and I'm sort of thinking about doing something like this as the background, certainly in an area. And I quite like what I did over here, where I've got these bands going. So I'm just going to use my pencil to very lightly draw in an area where I'd like this pattern to be. And I'm going to imagine drawing behind here, coming down, and then the other side I'm not looking for something that is perfectly straight or whatever, but just like that. And I think I'm going to draw this. Should I do this with the green, or I think I'll do it with the brown, and I'll use the green and other colours to add some colour to this afterwards, perhaps. So it is a bit like Zeppel, I suppose, where I'm going to draw lines within this border that crisscross over, that don't follow the strict line of the edge of the paper. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to bring that one in there. Here I'll just go this way, and perhaps let's have that one as if it's going there. Not that it does, they're not going to line up exactly, but if I can get the same number of lines top and bottom, that may help. And I'm going to take them right to the very edge of the paper. So I am beginning here to get overlapping happening and crisscrossing, which is exactly what I want in this particular pattern, I think. Okay, and I think I'm going to start to split some of the lines because they are I'm getting big areas, and if I try to fit lines in that are, follow the whole length of this, we're going to get in a bit of a pickle possibly. So here I would like one here. That'll work. And then perhaps one here just to tidy that edge up a bit, because that was a strange looking shape. And here I think I'll just pop one there as well. Perhaps there. Perhaps along there. I know that's straightened the edge up in a way perhaps I didn't want to. So I've got all of these here, and what I think I'm going to do now then, this is decisions. Do I draw? Because this pattern, I don't know what it's called, I don't know where I saw it, but it's got little leaves on here and little like gems, jewels. So I think I may do the leaves in that green, because my plan is to, actually no I won't, I'll do everything in this, and then I can add colour with the other pens just to add some colour here, and I know that this background will disappear. There is a technique in card making where people stamp the image they want to colour with a pale coloured distress ink. This is for watercolour particularly, or water-soluble mediums. And then as you add colour, that line disappears. It's called no line colouring, even though you've added a line. And I guess this is akin to that, though I'd only just remembered about people doing that. There used to be a time when you could actually buy distress ink pens, but I think they've been discontinued. And they would have been very useful, I guess, for this, especially as the distress ink palette would go perfectly well with... Oh, look at that, it's a cheeky one. There we go. Making use of that strangely connected line there would be really useful, because they would I'd know that the colours would tie in with whatever I used in my backgrounds, but they discontinued them and I no longer have the ones I had, because I'm great at buying stuff to give it a go, and then when I realise it's not me, I tend to gift it to people or organisations that would find it very useful, or, you know, to help people in one way or another. And that's fine as far as I'm concerned, you know. The problem is that sometimes I do that and then I realise that's what I want to use. Yeah. This is one of the disadvantages of being me, I think. So I'm looking at this, I'm trying to see if I like where I've got leaves in here. I'm going to pop another one here, I think. I've got a horrible mess of lines over here, so I do want to perhaps pop some leaves in just to... Do you see that, where the ink has bled into the edge of the paper? And I'm fine with that. You'll be okay, because even though I've got that line overlapped, I know full well that when I add water, that will smooth itself out, and perhaps just one there. I'm putting a lot of leaves in. And I'm going to do perhaps the same here, is to add some more leaves. Particularly down this area, I think, if I can get them squished in. And up here, I think I'm going to, if I pop one in here, it might distract from all of these up here that are a bit peculiar. That'll be fine, I think. I think I might pop one in here and join it like so. That'll be sensible. There we go. Yeah, and I think one here might work. Again, I'm going to use the damp brush to help to blend those lines away, as it were. Okay, how are we looking? I think that looks okay. Perhaps one here. There's a gap here really, isn't there? So if I pop one like that, it fills that gap and it gets rid of some of those lines. I think that'll do. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to use this green. Get the lid on. Don't know why I need to post it. Posting, it's when you put the lid on the top of the pen. They call it posting. So I'm just going to draw little lines of the colour along that central part of the leaf. And then I'm going to use my water brush to shift this colour. I know that this colour moves nicely without too much sticking to the paper, which is either due to the paper or it may just be due to the fact it's got distress inks on it. And they do change the surface of the paper, especially when they're fresh. There's something in them that does alter the way paper soaks up colour or reacts with colour, water-soluble colour, which is interesting. But I think just this little bit of green will be really quite nice. So how are you all doing? I've had a couple of days where I've not been too great. Physically, I'm okay. Emotionally, it's been a bit of a time. This happens. Things happen in life. And they trigger something in me from my past. And I then need just that time just to sort it out. Being overtired, waking up really early without much sleep for a couple of days hasn't helped matters. I did end up back in bed yesterday afternoon, and I slept for a fair number of hours. It's got to be about 4 or 5 hours. But I had got stressed because I had an appointment in the real world, out there where there are people, which is always scary for me these days. Was before, but it's worse now. Because I've not spent time around people for so long. So, but it's all good. And I feel better now. I've had a bit more sleep and, you know, been working through stuff and what have you. So before I do anything else here, so yeah, it is PTSD Awareness Month and CPTSD. And CPTSD is what I've experienced all my life, although I've worked really hard on doing something about it and getting better from it for a number of years. And I know what I've learnt from all of that experience, and not a good choice of brush. And I'm able to put things into practice once I realise what is going on. It's catching that triggered behaviour and attitudes and so on that causes me the problems, because it's you know, there's an automatic reaction to things. And it's usually almost self-destructive in its way. There's a lot of negativity, a lot of self-doubt, lots of, yeah, worry that I've offended somebody, and it's a mare when it happens. Now this may not work out exactly as I wanted, I've just realised, but it'll work out hopefully in a way that makes some kind of sense. So it may be that I'm just going to, actually that would work, I think. If I hadn't popped these veins in, I think these would have worked a bit better, but I think I'll leave it, see what happens and just see how it works. Because when they dry, the colours will dry lighter, and having that edge, I wouldn't mind getting water just around the outside of this so that that harsh line on the edge can just blend in with the rest, so that would work better. So yeah, so it is what it is, and it's definitely a work in progress. And when I begin to realise what's happened then, and understand that I've been triggered into an automatic reaction and way of thinking, often with a deep insecurity triggered, and once I begin to sort of like able to recognise it and start to go, oh, then that is where I can start to work out, well, right, okay, what tools did I learn during my EMDR therapy and techniques that I can apply to this situation. So I know what to do, and I've started working on that. But again, it's something that will take a little bit of time. And it's kind of like dealing with onion skin layers. You know, you peel one back and there's another underneath. Except it's well, I say infinite, hopefully it's not an infinitely large onion with extremely thin layers. But, you know, it's interesting, and it's something that I will do my best to work on and see if I can minimalise the chance of it happening quite as instantly as it did. But, you know, it's a journey. I realised actually it was literally just a month before the first lockdown, and I had done for a little bit before that I was just about good enough to leave EMDR therapy and to get on with life. You know, I have plans to start to travel on my own and do things on my own. I had to finish a book first, and then I was going to do that, and lockdowns happened, COVID hit, and I still haven't done that because there's knock-on effects of the pandemic with me, and, you know, a nervousness about going out into the world again. So I've got some of my, you know, challenges like so many people. It's affected so many people in so many ways. But I will get there. That, I think, has turned out nicer than I thought it was going to. I don't know whether you agree with me on that, but I really do think that turned out nicely. Now then, I did want to put some of these gems or berries on these strands, so I am going to use this sort of like reddish colour here, but I'm going to try this out just here to see what happens if I draw the outside and then just add some water inside just to let it fade, and that works nicely. This is my kind of watercolouring, I think. And of course, where I put them means that I can then, if I choose to, disguise these places where lines overlap and help to separate them in some way and keep things looking tickety-boo, I suppose. Now, do I put the strands along this one, which I think I might? I say strands. The little berries along this long line here, because I think that would make some sense then. I do think that would make sense. And here again, where these begin to cross over. I think it's where we have these longer lines is where I'm going to need them more than anything. And in these disastrous places where I've got lots of crossovers, I think that is where this will help big time, just to get things in a more sensible manner. In hindsight, I'm looking at this and perhaps I should have tried to find a dusky pinky purple, but I think I'm okay because it's, you know, should have checked this colour with water before I started doing it on that paper on the back just to see, but I think it'll be okay. So I am adding water to these at the bottom and let them dry. Remembering I'm just trying to put the water right in the middle so that the outside stays a nice dark colour and the inside is what becomes lighter. And with that as well, those lines, the brown lines, disappear. I've got a bit, don't have many here, do I? There's no here. Let's just pop a couple there, and perhaps 1, 2, 3 there. And let's see how they, oops, my hand slid there. But again, it is what it is. So that's quite nice. I think at the top here I need some, because this looks like it's sort of going off at different angles. So I think if I bring a line in here, I'll pop a leaf there. I will pop these in because then it will be, what happens will be identical to the others. So I've had some green. You need such a tiny amount of this ink that's in these pens. Does that look a bit better? It'll do. So back to the berries. Hope you don't mind me mentioning my continuing journey to healing with emotional and mental unwellness issues. It's talking about things like that, removing the stigma around them, is important to me. If I'd grown up knowing what emotional and mental good health is and what it isn't, then I may not have, struggled or suffered for as long as I did in life. And so if I can help others to understand that there's something not right, and perhaps they've never understood what, that good emotional health looks like or doesn't look like, then I think it's a good thing. So please don't hate me for doing this. Prior to the pandemic, I was out fairly regularly giving talks on behalf of Time to Change Wales, which is an organisation set up to help to end the stigma and discrimination around mental health by getting people to talk about it, to learn what mental health issues really are, and what somebody with a mental illness really looks like. Sort of like PTSD and CPTSD are really brain injuries caused by trauma. There's traumas, and whether it's a one-off trauma or it's a series of similar or repeated traumas, or not similar repeated traumas, or living within a very stressful, toxic environment for a long time, it's considered a brain injury because it does damage various parts of your brain. You can recover them because the brain is incredibly plastic, and you can do a lot to heal what goes on with therapy and so on. But there's a lot of research being done. Oops, gosh, wrong colour. How did I pick the wrong colour up? It's because I'm an numpty. It's okay. I just thought it might be nice to have some leaves growing out of the edge of this, just to perhaps give it more of an organic and interesting edge, and will help me feel a little happier about the shape, perhaps. I've got here, so that one can come out there, I think. I'm trying to think which way these strands would branch, if they're going to. So I've got that there, and I just think it'll give a more natural look. So yeah, so it's sort of like it's one of the things that have meaning to me. I don't know whether I'll be going back now after the pandemic to do work for Time to Change Wales. It's a volunteer, so I don't get paid. But whether it, sort of part of me thinks, right, it's time for people who are different to me, who've got different stories to tell, because many of the organisations that ask for talks are ones that I've given talks to already. So I feel that you need to hear from different people, and people with different experiences and lived experiences of mental illness. Of all kinds. So we've got those. So let's just do the thing of adding some green down the middle. I wonder actually if I'm making too much of a fuss with doing all of these lines. I think I might be fine just popping some green in the middle like so, perhaps. Let's try that out on these. If I make a mess, I make a mess. It's no big deal, is it? Look at this. So just, yeah, that'll work just fine. See, I fuss around too much at times. I've learnt that the colour will spread out, that I don't need to be so precise about adding the little lines. It's, I want things to blur and be interesting. And so perhaps this is the best way to do it. Quite nice how the brownie colour sort of mixes with the green. Gives that more muted kind of finish to it. Yeah, I'm much happier with that now. I've got the leaves sort of poking out from the side of this vine of some kind. So if any of you know what this particular pattern is called, if you come across it in your travels, it's bound to be somewhere on my Pinterest boards of one kind or another. Please drop a comment and let me and other people know, especially who the person was who deconstructed it. I'm not entirely sure I've followed those sort of like step by steps. This is more of a sort of like I look at it and work it out for myself kind of thing. But I'm sure there would be steps somewhere. And sometimes doing that, looking at a pattern and working out, well, how can this work for me, is the fun part. Sometimes I can't see how somebody's created that pattern. I'm just thinking, and then when you look at the deconstruction, you think, it's that easy, is it? And Thomas Padros is great at doing that. His patterns always look so complex, and yet they're really quite simple to do. So I like that. I do like this. I do. I think that's worked out really nicely. And I know that if I wanted to, I could knock it back even more by using gesso like I did on here, so it sets backwards into the, behind the white of the gesso, or by using a spray of water or even some water sprinkles. Now then, let me have a look. I've got a brush here that holds a fair amount of water. Let's get it nice and damp. And let's just add some water sprinkles, top and bottom. I'm using water. You could use colour if you wanted to, but I much prefer water because I want to lift some of this colour up. I'm also really rubbish at tapping. So I'm actually holding the brush quite firmly in my fingers. I think most people hold it quite loosely. So now I need to find some tissue, and that'll do. And I am just going to pick up some of the colour so this becomes a bit more ghostly, hopefully. It has in places, so the top one not quite so much. And I think with this, it gives it that worn kind of look that I'm after, that goes with the background and so on. So it adds to that grunginess, I suppose, or faded vintageness. The distress inks will also react with the water, so I'll get water spots on those as well. And do you know what? I possibly think I really like that. What do you think? Leave me a comment. Is there mileage in me doing this? Normally I would draw in black, and black has been my go-to. I felt uncomfortable drawing in colour or using colour in any kind of way. But this seems to work for me. Or perhaps I'm ready to accept this is a possibility. Now, I have no idea what I'm going to do with these sections, whether I leave them as they are, whether I use these colours to add pattern. There's a good chance I may. I'm not really sure at this exact time. This one on the bottom definitely needs something doing to it because it's not, I don't know, perhaps it is okay. But just let me know. And I hope you'll give this a go, even if you don't do the collage. You just use some plain paper. If you've got fine liners that are water-based, have a go and see what happens. I enjoyed this. I've said that already, but I really have enjoyed this and how it's worked, even though perhaps the colours aren't necessarily the best choice to go with the colours I've used. But they sort of tone in as well, because I've got this browny colour here, and you know, the green is, there's some blue in the background, so the, you know, this tea colour mixes with the blue to make a green, and it would be this kind of ochre green. So the colours there, the one that is the odd one out is this the berries, but I'm quite happy to have that little pop of colour, I think. So as I say, let me know what you think. I'm not going to try and put shadow underneath these. I'm going to leave them exactly as they are for now, and I'm going to go and do some work. So I'll just say thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you find some inspiration in this and we'll give this a go. I love this pattern. It's such an easy way to get, I could have filled the whole page with this, but I didn't want to. I'm wittering on again. I didn't want to fill the whole page because I wanted some of this background to be visible. Now, whether I do something else in these sections to add some other patterns or not, or shadow underneath here, like with these, I've added ink tents and water to create these darker areas underneath the collage, and then I have used gesso over the top. Here, I think I was hoping that I'd get this subtle. I think I didn't, because I don't think I didn't use the same colours, did I? But, oh, and I have gessoed over that as well, so that's toned them back a little bit. So, white gesso. So I've, you know, there's options, there's alternatives, there's ideas here. I need to annotate all of these so I remember in the future. It's a job for me while the video is processing. So I'll just say thank you very much for joining me. As I said, I hope you've really enjoyed this, that you'll give some of these ideas a go and see where it leads you. What's the worst that happens? You use a bit of paper, a bit of time, a bit of resources or materials, and you work out it's either for you, not for you, or you think, I sort of like this, but I think it would be better if I did it like this for me. And that's perfect. That's perfect. That's reflecting and working out for yourself. That's all I ever do. So until I see you in the next video, which may not be tomorrow, for me is Thursday, which will be Thursday the 30th of June. But we'll see. Gosh, 30th of June, we're nearly into July. So take care, and I'll see you soon. Oh, and be creative. Ta-da.